Hey now, Adam, what's going on?
What's up, Sitch? How are you doing today?
Great. The presidents of Harvard, MIT, and University of Pennsylvania were all dragged before Congress and slapped around. They said, why are you allowing all this insane amount of anti-Semitism, pro-Hamas stuff going on in your campuses?
Excellent question.
Right. And so there's a clip going around, which we're going to watch that clip. But because your boy Sitch here loves you guys so much, I listened to the entire 4 or 5 hour hearing.
What? You did a deep dive? Is this one of the Sitch and Adam deep dive videos?
It is. And I pulled out time codes for all the little juiciest parts that you haven't actually seen.
Wow. That's amazing.
So that's what we're going to show you today. I'm going to show you all the little bits where they got knocked around something fierce, where they smacked them around, and where they gave terrible answers, just so you can really see how awful the presidents of these Ivy Leagues answers were to all of these questions.
Well, let's enjoy the insanity together.
Okay.
A Harvard student calling for the mass murder of African Americans is not protected free speech at Harvard, correct?
Our commitment to free speech...
It's a yes or no question. Is that corrected? Is that okay for students to call for the mass murder of African Americans at Harvard? Is that protected free speech?
Our commitment to free speech...
It's a yes or no question. Let me ask you this. You are president of Harvard, so I assume you're familiar with the term intifada, correct?
I've heard that term, yes.
And you understand that the use of the term intifada in the context of the Israeli-Arab conflict is indeed a call for violent armed resistance against the state of Israel, including violence against civilians and the genocide of Jews. Are you aware of that?
That type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
And there have been multiple marches at Harvard with students chanting, quote, there is only one solution, intifada revolution, and, quote, globalize the intifada. Is that correct?
I've heard that thoughtless, reckless, and hateful language on our campus, yes.
So based upon your testimony, you understand that this call for intifada is to commit genocide against the Jewish people in Israel and globally, correct?
I will say again, that type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
This is so, okay. I hate this woman so much. So first of all, not only does she have like this really condescending, smug tone and everything, it's so like obnoxious, but she's asking you very specific questions about like, do you know that this thing is like a call to violence? You know, do you know that this thing is a call to violence? People are saying this on your campus. Why is this being allowed to be saying this call to violence on your campus? And she just kept saying, personally, I find it very offensive. I don't care about what you personally think. This is not about what you personally think. This is, are you aware that these things are called to violence and that students are saying them on your college campuses, and apparently you're not doing anything to stop it? That's what we're talking about here. I don't care what you personally think about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, answer the question. This is an administrative question. It's not a question about your personal intuition about the situation.
Exactly.
Do you believe that hateful speech is contrary to Harvard's code of conduct, or is it allowed at Harvard?
It is at odds with the values of Harvard.
Can you not say here that it is against the code of conduct at Harvard?
We embrace a commitment to free expression, even of views that are objectionable, offensive, hateful. It's when that speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies against bullying, harassment,
Does that speech not cross that barrier? Does that speech not call for the genocide of Jews and the elimination of Israel?
When
you testify that you understand that is the definition of intifada. Is that speech according to the code of conduct or not?
We embrace a commitment to free expression and give a wide berth to free expression, even of views that are objectionable.
You and I both know that's not the case. You were aware that Harvard ranked dead last when it came to free speech. Are you not aware of that report?
As I observed earlier, I reject that characterization.
It's the
of our
data shows
campus.
it's true. And isn't it true that Harvard previously rescinded multiple offers of admissions for applicants and accepted freshmen for sharing offensive memes, racist statements, sometimes as young as 16 years old? Did Harvard not rescind those offers of admission?
That long predates my time as president.
But you
so I can't
understand
speak.
that Harvard made that decision to rescind those offers of admission.
I have no reason to contradict the facts as you present them.
Correct, because it's a fact. You're also aware that a Winthrop House faculty dean was let go over who he chose to legally represent, correct? That was while you were dean.
That is an incorrect characterization of what transpired.
What's the characterization?
I'm not going to get into details about a personnel matter.
Well, let me ask you this. Will admissions offers be rescinded or any disciplinary action be taken against students or applicants who say, from the river to the sea or Intifada, advocating for the murder of Jews?
As I've said, that type of hateful, reckless, offensive speech is personally abhorrent to me.
Today that no action will be taken. What action will be taken?
When speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies, including policies against bullying, harassment, or intimidation, we take action, and we have robust disciplinary processes that allow us to hold individuals accountable.
What?
So
sick, so disgusting.
I like despise this person, this woman, because first of all, she like reeks of like HR, doesn't she? Like there's like she has like this attitude. If you've ever like had any sort of like corporate job, you've had to deal with like this fucking person who is like lording over you in their like a super smug, obnoxious, like passive aggressive way. They're like,
Yeah.
well, our policies state, you know, XYZ. And you're like, listen, I understand what the policy says, but I'm trying to ask you like something real here. Can you like drop your policy corporate jargon for a second and interact with the human being? Our policies, it's like, oh my God. And they know that what they're doing is wrong. They know that they're manipulating corporate jargon policy language to circumvent whatever you're talking about is. That's why they have this like horrific, smug expression on their face. And they just will not actually address whatever you're trying to talk about.
Yeah, she's playing a power trip right here. That's exactly what's going on. She's loving every minute of this.
Yes. And it's just so weird that's like you're having this conversation about people using violent rhetoric on campus, and you have like this bizarre, condescending, smug smile on your face about the situation.
Look, she gets to stick it to the authorities. That's exactly what she's doing here.
I guess. Well, the evil right-wing authorities. So
She's saying, look, these rules apply to you. They don't apply to me. Okay? There's different rules for me.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's disgusting. It's totally disgusting. It's illiberal. I hate it. And look, if she was making this argument in good faith, right? Like they had protected speech that they found abhorrent. Look, I'm all for it, right? More free speech on campus. I think the limits to speech have been too stringent, right?
Yes.
But they're lying. That's what's so insane about this.
Yes.
It's all just a big farce.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me
Haidt had a
sick.
great tweet about this where he said exactly that. He said, like, if these college campuses had shown that they had some commitment to free speech, we would be having a different conversation.
Yes.
But, you know, we all haven't been in comas, you know, for the last 6 years, 7 years. We know that college campuses have not had any commitment to free speech. They've been highly censorious on anything that goes against woke dogma. And now suddenly they're pretending. They're like, oh, we have really big commitments to free speech. It's like, no, you don't. You're lying. We all know you're lying.
Yeah, you're big, fat liars, and we can see right through it.
Yeah.
What action has been taken against students who are harassing and calling for the genocide of Jews on Harvard's campus?
I can assure you we have robust
What
disciplinary
actions have been
processes
taken? I'm not
with
asking.
actions underway.
I'm asking what actions have been taken against
Given-
those students.
Given students' rights to privacy and our obligations under FERPA, I will not say more about any specific cases other than to reiterate that processes are ongoing.
Do you know what the number one hate crime in America is?
I know that over the last couple of months, there has been an alarming rise of anti-Semitism, which I understand is the critical topic that we are here to discuss.
That's correct. It is anti-Jewish hate crimes. And Harvard ranks the lowest when it comes to protecting Jewish students. This is why I've called for your resignation, and your testimony today, not being able to answer with moral clarity, speaks volumes. I yield back.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
100%.
Very nice.
100%. I mean, her performance in this hearing is abysmal. All of their performances are really abysmal. And if I, was on the board of these colleges, I'd be like, oh.
Yeah. Look, they're using the oppression hierarchy.
Yeah.
They've created a modern day caste system where if you are in the marginalized caste, you're above the law. You can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. You can be as offensive as you want, and none of the rules apply. And if you are in the oppressor caste, well, you have actually no rights at all.
Yeah.
It's ironic that they call themselves progressives, because this is a very old social system. This is, I would argue, the traditional social system, right? Where you have an aristocracy that has a completely different set of rules applied to them as the serfs, the peasants.
True.
Yeah, very elitist, and it's bizarre that they wrap this in some sort of virtuous thing for the underdog, the oppressed, the marginalized.
Yep.
It's disgusting. It's totally disgusting.
And
go ahead.
I'll say, and it's just so ironic that now they dare to come out once they're finally called out for this behavior. They dare to come before Congress and they say, "Listen, we're really big on free speech here at these college campuses."
Lie. We all know that's just big, fat lies. They've never been in favor of free speech. They're only in favor of silencing people that disagree with them. Look, they will call themselves liberal. This isn't liberal. This is illiberal. This is the height of illiberalism. Liberalism is about treating people universally, universal protection under the law. That's what it's about. This is not that. And I'm glad they're bringing up all these examples of when they've treated people completely differently. They use these laws as they see fit to depose their political rivals. That's exactly what they do.
But in 2013, Penn canceled now Prime Minister Modi's scheduled keynote address at a Wharton-hosted economic forum in the face of opposition from Indian American professors. And for the past year, your administration has sought to punish Amy Wax, a tenured law professor, for her stance on DEI and identity issues. And then you canceled an event with former ICE Director Tom Homan due to disruptive student protest simply because he worked for former President Donald Trump. Ms. McGill, the fact is that Penn regulates speech that it doesn't like. Everyone gets this. No one more than the faculty and students who know exactly where the lines are that they're okay to cross. Why did Penn let Professor Ahmad Amala off the hook, who led hundreds of students in chanting, "There's only one solution, Intifada revolution"? Why does that professor still have a job at your university?
Representative, our approach to speech is, as I identified, it follows and is guided by the United States Constitution.
Such a liar. This is so frustrating, Sitch. This is so, they're such bastards.
They're such liars. Oh yeah, we're supposed to believe college campuses are following the United States First Amendment principles in terms of what speech is allowed on college campuses.
Look, it's so transparent. It's like, we are ready to have a complex conversation about Palestine and Israel, right? But if you want to have a complex conversation about whether or not there's only two genders, like, get lost.
Right. Yes.
It's so transparent.
And she's doing the same thing. What is wrong with all these deans? Like, why does she have like this like smirk on her face when she's talking about
Because
this
they
issue?
love it. They love it. They love it, Sitch. They're basking in the power that they have, that they can come right out and they can say these completely offensive things that in a normal world they would be classifying as hate speech, but they could say, oh, look, this is free speech now.
Yeah. Right.
They love it.
Right.
They love it. Oh, it's so sick.
Which allows for robust perspectives. I disagree with the characterization that we treat speech differently, and I can't discuss any individual disciplinary proceeding.
The same goes for Penn professor Ann Norton, who's repeatedly denied Hamas's worst atrocities on October 7. Or how about Huda Fakhreddin, who romanticized the murder of over 1,000 Israeli Jews as, quote, Palestine inventing a new way of life, and clapped as a speaker said Jews should go back to Berlin and Moscow. Why does that professor still have a job at your university?
I'm very troubled by what you're describing, Congressman, that kind of...
You're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. You're defending it. You allow these professors to teach at your college. You create a safe haven for this type of anti-Semitic behavior. You said something earlier about anti-Semitism being symbolic of the larger society. Your university is a hotbed of it. And one of the reasons that we're seeing a rise of anti-Semitism and an unsafe environment for Jewish college students all over this country, you're largely responsible for it. With that, Madam Chair, I yield back.
So there's another incident too I found was a Penn University professor, who's a med school professor, was helping students rip down hostage photos that were posted somewhere.
Insane.
These people all need to be fired, and it's like despicable that they're not already fired for saying shit like this. This isn't like, listen, you can go and you can say like, I think what Israel's doing is wrong, is in the what they're doing with the war is wrong. You can, they're not even saying, it's not even like they're saying it's like an apartheid state or open air prison. Like they're saying things that are so much crazier than that. How is this allowed on these college campuses?
Yeah, if you're telling Jewish people to go back to Berlin, we know exactly what you're saying.
Right. It's wild. Chickens are coming home to roost. I mean, I am glad that this is happening on these college campuses, because I do think this is a wake-up call for America. They're really seeing what the hell is going on with this woke garbage.
This is terrifying to me. These are tomorrow's future leaders.
Yes.
This is insane.
But it's better
These are the people we're going to be...
Right.
Is it?
Yes.
These are still the people...
when they're leaders.
These are still the people we're going to be forced to vote for.
I don't know. Well, it depends. We'll see where we go from here. Will there actually be a course correction or not?
These people have been indoctrinated.
No. I'm talking about, I'm just saying, like, I'm hopeful.
Will we stop indoctrinating people?
A course correction forced upon the colleges because of all this stuff.
I am not hopeful.
Okay.
Campus anti-Semitism has skyrocketed on your campuses and all across the country. It is shocking, it is pervasive, it is threatening, and it is stunningly visible. The fear Jewish students are facing is real and it's justified. Jewish students are trying to get an education while entrance to their classes are blocked by protests outside and inside classroom buildings. They sit in classes disrupted by protesters with bullhorns accusing Israel of genocide, with students chanting, "Long live the Intifada." And by the way, as we all know, the intifadas in Israel included years of terrorist bus bombings and restaurant bombings that resulted in countless deaths of Jewish and Arab civilians. Jewish students in college dining rooms are confronted with banners that say, "From the river to the sea," a phrase that calls for the end to the Jewish state and the killing of Jews. Don't take my word for it. You can listen to the leader of Hamas, who has been quite vocal about what that phrase means. A Jewish student at Harvard was asked by the professor to leave his class because the other students weren't comfortable having their discussion in front of that Jewish Israeli student.
That's
Jewish students
crazy.
have been pushed, spat upon, punched, and told not to leave their dorms for their own safety during protests. A Jewish student in my home state was told to rewrite a paper he wrote that supported an Israeli view of the conflict, or he risked failing the course. And Jewish students had their class interrupted when a professor told the students that they were going to take a break so that all the students could go with him to attend the anti-Israel protest on campus. This intimidation, humiliation, and exclusion of Jewish students is simply unacceptable. It would not be tolerated against any other minority group, and we need university presidents to do more to protect Jewish students. President Gray,
Okay. Crazy.
Yeah, look, cut the funding, cut the federal funding for all these people. It's insane that the taxpayers are spending money on these universities.
Right?
It's kind of insane stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Like, could you imagine if there were students putting up like burning crosses or pictures of burning crosses, on campuses, or swastikas on campuses,
It's the insanity is we've all lived through the pronoun stuff, which
Yeah.
is considered a genocide of trans people,
Yes.
which
Yes.
by comparison is just so innocuous. That is why this is so offensive.
Yeah. Yeah. The hypocrisy. We've lived through microaggressions. We've lived through, you're not allowed to question, police shooting things. Like we have to live, you're not allowed to dress up in offensive Halloween costumes. You have to be so utterly sensitive. You have to walk around. You have to tiptoe on eggshells about every little thing. Unless we want to say from the river to the sea, which comes from the original translation, is from water to water, Israel will be Arab, right? Unless we
Right.
want to advocate for the removal and or, destruction of an entire country and its population, unless we want to call for violent revolution and say that is the solution, like, then it's fine. Then all the crap that they've been speaking about being super sensitive to everyone's needs, that all goes out the window. And it really shows, crystal clear how all these people are liars and scumbags, and they're all hypocrites, and everything they've been doing and everything they've been saying is just power games. It's all just power games.
It is. That's all it is. It's a giant power trip.
I guess
I have
not.
answered your question.
Would you say that a person who is an avowed neo-Nazi is someone that you would want to be part of the Harvard community?
Those are not consistent with Harvard's values, but at the same time, we allow a wide berth for free
But
expression.
the question was,
He's so full of garbage. This woman's trash.
She is. Do you think after, Charlottesville, after January 6th, after, could you imagine, like, okay, middle of BLM protests, can you imagine someone saying, like, do you want a neo-Nazi on your campus? Can you imagine her giving this answer?
No, not in a billion years.
Yes.
That's what's so
Yes.
insane about this.
Yes, I know.
I think she's getting off on this hypocrisy. She knows that. She knows she's lying.
I mean, I guess it's just because of her weird expression, where she's just so like condescendingly smug and smiling. Like, that's what it makes me think too.
Right.
A
would you
variety of
want
views.
such a person who is an avowed neo-Nazi to be part of the Harvard community? Yes or no?
Those are not consistent with Harvard values.
So you would not want such a person to be part of the community?
Those are not consistent with Harvard values.
Would you want someone who has called for the eradication of the Jewish people to be part of the Harvard community?
Again, those are not consistent with Harvard values, where we are committed to making
Would you
no
want
space
someone
on
who
our
has
campus
called for the elimination of the
anti-Semitism.
state of Israel to be part of the Harvard community?
There is no place at Harvard for anti-Semitism.
But the elimination of the state of Israel, someone who advocates for that, is that someone you'd want to be part of the Harvard community?
There is no place for anti-Semitism at Harvard.
You're not answering my questions very well, Dr. Gabe, so I'll move on. You've said today that you're proud of Harvard's initial response, the initial steps Harvard has taken in the immediate aftermath of October 7th. But one of your predecessors, Dr. Larry Summers, was anything but proud. He said that in his 50 years of Harvard affiliation, I have never been as disillusioned and alienated as I am today. The silence from Harvard's leadership has allowed Harvard to appear at best neutral towards acts of terror against the Jewish state of Israel. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in the aftermath of October 7th?
So to be clear about what I was doing on October 7th, it was identifying whether or not we had any faculty or
Is there
students
anything
who
you
were
would have
Israel.
done differently?
Had I known that the statement issued by the students would have been wrongly attributed to the university, I would have spoken sooner about it. But I was focused on action that weekend, not statements.
Well, I appreciate you.
What does that even mean? Like, Harvard was so called out because it took a long time, okay, for Harvard faculty or the president, this lady or the administration to put out a statement denouncing, Hamas attacking on October 7th. When these insane student groups for Harvard came out that day or the next day and were saying like, oh yeah, this is, it's all Israel's fault and it's based.
Right. Yeah. They're basically dancing on Israel's grave.
Yeah. She's like, oh, I was concerned with action. Well, then what? First of all, what does that even mean? What was the action? No, she doesn't say, number one. Number two, then you're an idiot because part of your job as president of the college is to manage the reputation of the college. That's like one of your primary jobs.
Which he's failing at miserably.
Yes.
You saying that, but it's clear for me from your testimony, President Gay, I don't think you're a person of any kind of prejudice yourself, but you clearly seem to believe that that the forces of anti-Semitism are a constituency that needs to be catered to. I think that's clear from your silence, from the carefully parsed statements, from the Orwellian passive voice, and unfortunately, that message was heard loud and clear by the forces of anti-Semitism on your campus and has reverberated across American higher education and seeped into our broader culture. So we need fundamental cultural change on university campuses.
I'm not familiar with this guy, but he seems pretty sharp because that was right on your Orwellian passive speech, and maybe you're not anti-Semitic, but you view that those people, you need them. They're part of your constituency. He's dead on.
He
correct.
is. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely
She's doing her
true.
best to suck up to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You look, she's got no problem with neo-Nazis as long as they're on her side.
Right.
Look, it's exactly true. It's exactly true.
Is. Yeah. Like I've seen that meme where it's like, the hot guy and the ugly guy hitting on the woman.
Yeah.
And they just put so the hot guy, they put the Palestinian flag on. They're like, get rid of all the Jews.
Yeah.
And people are like, yes. And then the ugly person's like the right-wing Nazi. And they're like, oh my God, get this Nazi out of here.
Yeah. No, it's all dependent upon the politics, which is disgusting. This is why you have to treat people the same.
Yeah.
These videos and the testimony just doesn't add up. Here is some things that are we've seen. America has seen. There are these anti-Jewish campus organizations called Students for Justice in Palestine. They've been suspended and kicked off many campuses, but none of yours since October 7th. Their purpose is to just harass and intimidate Jewish students into retreating from campus life. President Gay, there are numerous videos of Students for Justice in Palestine. At Harvard, they're known as Palestine Solidarity Committee, assaulting, intimidating Jewish students on your campus. When Palestine Solidarity Committee took over University Hall, instead of removing them, your administration gave them burritos. President Kornbluth, in one of the most observed, crazy campus incidents of the past 2 months, a viral video went of a math professor at MIT handing his lecture over to MIT's version of Students for Justice in Palestine, the MIT for Palestine Coalition, who invoked lies and just called for hatred and harm against Jewish students. And he sat and watched this. So here's your chance to tell America Who's gotten fired? What organizations you've kicked off your campus? Does anybody want to jump in and say, we kicked them off or we've expelled students? Anybody want to jump in? You've all also said that you value academic diversity, but you have no idea how many of your professors are liberal or how many of your professors are conservative. So how do you know? If you don't know that, that's a pretty important piece of information. If you don't know that, how do you know that you're academically diverse? Anybody jump in? Just go for it. I just happen to have.
Oh, so smug.
I know. And I saw the video, I saw a clip that he was talking about. It's like the most cucked thing you've ever seen. There's a teacher, he's teaching math. And these kids come up from the side of the class and they like holding a Palestinian flag and they want to do some like demonstration or something. And the teacher's like, listen, let me just finish explaining this math problem. And then he finishes to explain the math problem for like 20 seconds. And then he walks away. And then they're like, we're here representing the Palestinian group, blah, 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 Antifada,
No
Free
way.
Palestine.
No way.
And they just do like their little chant for like 20 seconds and they wave the flag and then they walk out. And it's like so awkward and cringe. And you're like, I can't believe the professor just allowed the class to be interrupted by like a roving student band that's just going into every classroom to just scream, infantada, whatever, infantada, Free Palestine, blah, 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 blah. Like, what? This is just like, no, get out of my classroom. Like,
This was so far from my college experience. Like I literally would get up and start smacking people. It's just like insane. Really?
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like if I was in college and that was happening, people would stand up and be like, from the river to the sea, suck on D's, and everyone would laugh.
Yeah.
Like, just like, what is this?
Take it to the quad, right? Look,
Yes.
you see the Bible beaters, the activists, you see them all out in the quad
Exactly.
between classes.
Yes.
Bring it into the classroom? Get out of here, punk.
Exactly. It's like, no, get out of here. I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
It's like,
Get your soapbox and go down to the
Yes.
student union.
I'm paying for these classes. I'm not paying to hear your, dumbass interrupt my class.
Oh, these people have to go.
How we keep our students safe.
I yield the rest of my time to my colleague from New York.
Dr. Gay, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules on bullying and harassment?
The rules around bullying and harassment are quite specific, and if the context in which that language is used amounts to bullying and harassment, then we take action against it.
Can you say yes to that question of does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules on bullying and harassment?
Calling for the genocide of Jews is anti-Semitic.
So yes.
And that is anti-Semitic speech. And as I've said,
and it's
when
a yes.
speech crosses into conduct.
And it's a yes. I've asked the witnesses.
When speech crosses into conduct, we take action.
So
Why is she so smug about this? Look at that face.
She hates her. She hates this woman.
Yeah. Well, she should. This woman's reaming her relentlessly as she deserves.
Yeah, but she's equally a bully.
Yeah.
She loves these people saying this. She loves these people being intimidated.
Mm-hmm.
She loves it. She loves hiding behind these speech codes.
Yeah. And she says like
go ahead.
She says, when it enters the realm of conduct, what does that even mean? What do you mean when it enters okay, so if you have a bunch of people, shouting us, from the river to the sea, shouting for violent revolution, marching on
That
campus.
is conduct.
Yeah, that's not conduct? What do you mean? That is conduct. That is literally conduct. Right. Like, well, as long as they're not actually actively beating up the Jewish kids on campus, I guess it's fine. It's like, what the hell? No.
is that a yes? Is that a yes? The witness hasn't answered. Madam Chair, is that a yes? You cannot
When
answer the
speech
question.
Crosses into conduct.
I'm sorry.
We take action.
I'm sorry.
She's so smug.
I know. Look at that face. It's gross.
It is gross. Look, that means nothing. When speech crosses into conduct, we take action. What conduct?
Yes.
explain the situation.
Yep.
Madam Chair, I'd like to yield the balance of my time to the gentlewoman from New York.
Dr. Kornbluth.
I do like that they all give it to her. They're like, listen,
Yeah, they're letting her hammer her.
we know how much you love this person. Okay, let's let her just keep hitting you.
At MIT, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
If targeted at individuals, not making public statements.
Yes or no? Calling for the genocide of Jews does not constitute bullying and harassment?
I have not heard calling for the genocide for Jews on our campus.
But you've heard chants for intifada.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context, when calling for the elimination of the Jewish people.
So those would not be according to the MIT's code of conduct or rules?
That would be investigated as harassment if pervasive and severe.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
yes
speech
or
becomes
no?
if the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes. And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted as an individual, targeted at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals. Do you understand your testimony is dehumanizing them? Do you understand that dehumanization is part of anti-Semitism? I will ask you one more time. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric. When it
and is it anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
Look, I wish she would get him on the record with some other things. Like if she would ask him, is calling for the re-enslavement of blacks against the code of conduct? So that they would be on the record saying, well, that's context dependent, right?
Yes.
Is calling for the mass deportation of all immigrants beyond the code of conduct.
Right.
Like, do these things have to be aimed at an individual when they say those things? Because what they're saying makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, and you know that they wouldn't stand for in any other context.
Yes. Yeah, I agree completely. There's a little bit of that in the beginning, but definitely more so. She should have gone through all of like first of all, I mean this is the part that got the clip, so I'm glad this all exists. But I mean, I would have gone further. I would have literally dropped an N-bomb in this conversation, in this hearing. Seriously, I would have been like, listen, I've been like, are you telling me that if students, had had signs that said, we should
Yeah,
kick
and
out all, and then the N-words. Only if I was in Congress, I would have literally said it. All these, people should be kicked out of college campuses as long as they're not targeting individual people. They're just saying it generally as a group. Are you telling me that doesn't violate Harvard's code of conduct and harassment?
that seems to be what they're saying. That seems to be the argument that they're making. But make them make it for those other
Yes.
marginalized groups, so that
Yes.
they're never going to do in a million years. It immediately highlights the hypocrisy here.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so I actually looked up this Title VII thing that they were talking, because they keep saying this thing that sounds insane. It sounds we all know it's not true about it's only harassment if it targets an individual.
Yeah,
So
it's all
right.
subterfuge.
So fortunately, the Biden department put out a letter in November 7th that says it's all about this specifically. Okay. From the Office of Civil Rights for Education regarding Title VI. It says harassing conduct can be verbal or physical and need not be directed at a particular individual.
No way.
Okay. Literally says that. And they sent this to all the colleges, okay, a month ago.
Right.
Says literally a month ago, the Office of Civil Rights interprets Title VI to mean that the following type of harassment creates a hostile environment of unwelcome conduct based on shared ancestry or ethnic characteristics that, based on the totality of circumstances, is subjectively and objectively offensive and is so severe or pervasive that it limits or denies a person's ability to participate in or benefit from the recipient's education program or activity. Schools must take immediate and effective action to respond to harassment that creates a hostile environment. And that's the key. Okay. So you literally have the Biden administration itself is saying you cannot create a hostile environment. And obviously, people run around saying from the river to the sea, saying violent revolution, intifada, that's obviously creating a hostile environment.
Hell yeah, it is. They're basically lashing out at all the Jewish students. They hate their guts. They see them as Zionists. They see them as oppressors. They see them as colonialists.
Yes. Yes.
They've been taught this in these schools, and they're just pitting these two populations against one another.
Yep.
It's disgusting. They're creating the anti-Semitism.
Right. So Miss Stefanik and some of the other people that were speaking, definitely a great job. Definitely based. But I know that we're a little angry, so let's end with a little bit of comedy.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So after these clips, Adam, went viral, okay, all these clips of these heads of Ivy League colleges unable to say whether advocating for literally killing Jews was a violation of their policy, you can imagine they got some backlash.
Oh, I would think. I saw it all over Twitter all day long.
Right. So the backlash got so bad that the president, that lady that was there, the president of Penn, had to come out and they made her do a hostage video. Okay.
Is that what we're looking at here?
Yes.
It does kind of look like a hostage video. Like maybe someone's right off screen there with a gun to her head.
Yes. They're like, they're going to fire her if she doesn't say this. Okay. So let's see the walk back that they try to do after that disastrous hearing.
Okay, should be good. Let's see.
There was a moment during yesterday's congressional hearing on anti-Semitism when I was asked if a call for the genocide of Jewish people on our campus would violate our policies. In that moment, I was focused on our university's longstanding policies aligned with the U.S. Constitution, which say that speech alone is not punishable. I was not focused on, but I should have been, the irrefutable fact that a call for genocide of Jewish people is a call for some of the most terrible violence human beings can perpetrate. It's evil, plain and simple. I want to be clear. A call for genocide of Jewish people is threatening, deeply so. It is intentionally meant to terrify a people who have been subjected to pogroms and hatred for centuries and were the victims of mass genocide in the Holocaust. In my view, it would be harassment or intimidation.
For decades, under multiple Penn presidents and consistent with most universities, Penn's policies have been guided by the Constitution and the law. In today's world, where we are seeing signs of hate proliferating across our campus and our world in a way not seen in years, these policies need to be clarified and evaluated. Penn must initiate a serious and careful look at our policies, and Provost Jackson and I will immediately convene a process to do so. As president, I'm committed to a safe, secure, and supportive environment so all members of our community can thrive. We can and we will get this right. Thank you.
Wow. It looks like somebody realized they done messed up.
I mean, yeah, you think it wouldn't take a rocket scientist to be like, maybe you should say that calling for the genocide of a group of people is a violation of our college's, policies. I mean, I know it's kind of like a shocking, controversial thing, but let's get our heads out of our asses.
Now, are the Palestinian people going to try to cancel her now? I guess they probably will. That's the next salvo to be fired in this culture war, right?
Right.
She's siding with the enemy.
Yes, that will be interesting.
The
We'll
oppressors.
See. Right. We'll see. I mean, listen, hopefully this causes a big controversy. This would be like the dream, okay? Big controversy where these college campuses start saying, you can't say intifada, you can't say from the river to the sea. Oh my God. It's going to be like all hell's going to break loose with the students. It's going to be beautiful.
The speech prohibitions are finally turned on them.
Yes.
The speech prohibitions they've been foisting on everybody else.
God, they're good. If that happens, we're gonna have so much content if that happens. The crying, the tears, the sit-ins, the riots. Oh my gosh.
I noticed this entire video, this 2-minute video was scripted.
Yeah, did you like
obviously reading off a screen? Yeah.
I know. I was like, listen, you should at least here's what you gotta do. You have your assistant print out your script and you hold it at eye level with the camera.
Yes. Yes.
Right? You don't look at your laptop. So you're looking down. It's super obvious you're reading and it looks very insincere as the camera's pointed at it from a completely different angle.
This says to me, higher ups came in and said, listen, you done messed up bad. Okay. You are not allowed to say any word that we don't approve of you saying in advance.
Right.
Okay. Your public speaking is done.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So this definitely reads like a hostage video. So, yes.
So Harvard, they didn't put out a video. They did put out a tweet, though. Maybe they'll put out a video later. But they did put out a tweet.
They're still making the video.
Okay, so this is from the Harvard account. It says, statement from President Gay. Listen, we're small children because we can't say President Gay without laughing. Okay. President Gay says, there are some who have confused a right to free expression with the idea that Harvard would condone calls for violence against Jewish students. Oh, gee.
I wonder how they could get mixed up like that, Sitch. Everything she said was totally clear.
God. It's so
funny. Who could make that mistake?
It's so funny because the other woman, obviously she's very conciliatory. She's like, we messed up, right?
Yes.
This is
she's like, you messed up. You didn't understand what I was saying.
President Smug Face is like, no, why, you're wrong. Why would you confuse this? This is you. There are some who have confused. Oh, I can't imagine why they would be confused.
That's hilarious.
Jeez. So anyway,
none of that was part of the tweet, by the way.
I know. No, that was all the tweet. That was all the subtext. Okay, you just have the ability to read the subtext out loud.
Oh yes, that definitely was the subtext.
Right.
So
anyway,
continuing with the tweet.
Let me be clear. Calls for violence or genocide against the Jewish community or any religious or ethnic group are vile. They have no place at Harvard, and those who threaten our Jewish students will be held to account.
Why couldn't she just say that in the hearing?
Because it wasn't true. It wasn't true the day before yesterday. That's
Look,
why.
all of a sudden she figured out the context.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. So there you go. So it seems like that the clips went viral. They got the smackdown. They got called in to the board, and they're changing their tune.
Okay. Final thought here. How could they not know that those clips would go viral, Sitch? How could they be that stupid?
You saw their smug ass faces when they were talking. Okay, these people are so isolated in, I guess, like leftist ivory tower land that they thought like, well, these are Republicans. And so I'm going to just speak truth to power with my smug expression to these evil Republican congressmen, and all the people left are going to cheer and applaud me. And then they walked back home, and they did cheer and applaud them. And then the next day, the clips came out on Twitter, and everyone went, "Oh my God, are you for real right now?"
Yeah, exactly. And then the real truth to power was spoken.
And then all the phones started ringing, and all the donors and all the board members were like, "What the hell did you do?"
Yes, exactly. You might as well just light the university on fire, bitch. Please.
Yeah.
You better start writing up your retraction right now. All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Hi, you just listened to a Sitch and Adam recorded video. That's right, we're doing Monday through Friday deep dive recorded videos now. And of course, we're still doing our live streams. Our live streams are on Sunday and Tuesday starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And you can super chat us, or you can join the channel. Subscribe to this channel right here to watch the live show or watch more of our awesome deep dive videos.